Hey, everybody, welcome back to our third week of AI webinars. This week, we are going to dive deep into AI governance and data security. Uh, have all the usual team here. So people are still starting to fill in, but Shailesh is going to get us started here. Welcome.
Yeah, and probably give everybody just a couple minutes. Let a few more jump in here. They're starting to add up.
And then Jason is going to kick us off.
Sorry, Jason is going to kick us off.
Beautiful day for webinar. As we're waiting for some people to join on here, hopefully everyone has enjoyed the series so far. They should continue on our educational path here, an important part of the process here, managing your data. Give it just one more minute and then we will get things started. About almost up to half our people here, so sure we'll have a few people join in just a couple minutes late, but all right, well, if we want to maybe pull up our slide deck, maybe we'll get things kicked off here.
All right, go ahead, JJ.
All right, well, welcome everybody here to session 3 of our AI education series. We started our journey a few weeks back by providing everyone a foundation on AI literacy and specifically working with Claude. Last week, we moved into how AI can help you with your data. And today, we are going to continue our series by discussing why and how you can protect your data when working with AI. I want to go ahead and jump to the next slide there. So everybody on the call today has used Claude or another AI tool to help them get work done. It helps us save time by drafting faster, analyzing data. But here's the question that almost nobody asks while they're entering a prompt. When I hit enter, where did my data actually go? Who processed it and saw it, and is it still going to be there after I'm done? So that moment between using an AI tool and understanding what it does with your information is what today's session is all about. So AI governance and security is not about slowing down our AI use. It's really about making sure we have habits and guardrails in place so we can keep utilizing these tools, but without creating the exposure that we don't intend to get there. So go ahead and go to the next slide there. All right. So when I was a kid, one of my most favorite things to do on Sunday morning was go get the paper and read the comics. And one of my favorite comics was Family Circus, especially when you had these ones that come up where Billy would go on an elaborate adventure throughout his house or the neighborhood. So, Billy was a curious kid. Somebody would ask him a question and he'd go find an answer. But when he went to go find that answer, he would take his time and check every little corner, nook and cranny about the house or neighborhood before he went and delivered that ultimate result. So this is kind of what we're going to be talking about today, and how AI can navigate throughout your organization and why we need to have these guardrails in place. So go ahead, next slide there. So when you have an AI prompt, it's kind of like Billy, right? It's going to go out and it's going to look everywhere and anywhere that it possibly can. So when we have poor data governance in place, these prompts are going to go to parts of your organization that they really shouldn't be getting into. That could be, for example, an employee asks an AI assistant, what's the typical compensation range for a senior project manager here? Simple enough, innocent enough, but if that model was trained on or connected to unscoped HR files, it might return actual salaries tied to specific names of employees in that role, something they should not be seeing. Or an analyst might ask AI to summarize a recent strategic initiative. But incidentally, it pulled from an unscoped executive file and returned details of an active acquisition target, including the company's name and the project deal terms, right? If we don't have guardrails and rules defined over where these AI tools can get into, it's going to look everywhere and anywhere that it can. Now, once we put that strong data governance in place, Billy's got a little more focused look here. That AI prompt isn't going to go everywhere and anywhere. It's going to go where we tell it that you're allowed to go. So the importance here is that without this data governance around your organization, AI is going to look anywhere that it possibly can, and quite honestly, places that you wouldn't think to look as just a human trying to, get into a file and look for something. By providing the data governance and structure in place, we can control the AI request and ensure that it's always going to the areas that we want to allow it to get into. Go ahead and go next slide. I'll pass it over to Shalise here to kind of get us kicked off of the meat of the presentation.
Perfect. Thank you, Jason, for that amazing background. I always love storytelling using things we are so familiar with. It just sets the right context. So here is kind of how we're going to kick it off, right? So if you use Claude or any other tool, the big question, as Jason said, do you know where your data goes to or went to? Who processes it? Where does it live? When you hit that enter sign or that upper arrow in Claude, and that's kind of what we're going to walk you through today, is like that click you have and your prompt goes, what all places it goes to, right? The gap between using the tool and understanding what it does behind the scene is exactly actually what we're going to actually show you today, okay? Because the most important and valuable asset for any organization is, number one is their people, and the number two is their data, right? So the goal for today is really what we want you all to walk away with, really a clear mental model of when you use any AI tool like Claude, what does that data flow look like from the prompt to where does it go, right? All the way to the LLM. We're going to actually show you what we call it, just like what we have done in last two webinars. We're going to actually give you some tools, some tips around how do you write these prompts in a way where it is protecting you and your organization from leaking any data. We're going to do live demos via Claude. And then there are, no matter what we do as users, as organizations, ultimately we are so dependent upon what data is going into these models or LLMs, what we call. And there is a limitation of what we could do, right, as organizations and employees of those organizations. So AI has evolved over the period of last 4 years, and security is the most important aspect which everybody is trying to figure out, go after. There is an organization, a lot of startups coming out in this space, and one of the startup, which is one of our partners, we're going to talk about. The name of the company is called Dimium, and they have a governance platform they have built. So we're actually going to show you what that really looks like, and then give you some tips and tricks, the data rule cards, to make sure that when you take this back into your day-to-day practices, you have tools and tips which can help you actually protect your data. So that's what we're going to do. Here's kind of our journey. We're going to walk you through. The module 1 is all about showing you what risks currently exist, and Sandeep is going to actually talk through it. Module 2 is what I just said, where human capabilities and features and what all they can do to stop the data from leaking, and where a governance type of a platform can take over. So which is where we're going to show you uh, demos of Demium and what it's capable of, and then kind of give you a lot of information to take back, such as the risk map. We're going to show you. We're going to give you the AI data rule card, which you can take it back. And then as usual, we'll do a quick knowledge check. Okay, so with that, I'm actually going to give it to Sandeep to go through the module one.
Right. Thank you, guys. So the module one really focuses on how we're going to do everything today. We have two tiers, tier one and tier two, like Salesh mentioned. Tier one is going to be focused mainly on Claude and all the things that Claude can do today and what are the capabilities. We're going to talk a little bit about the guardrails. We're going to talk about best practices. We're going to talk about prompt templates. And then after that, we're going to go into tier two, which is going to be more focused on Demium, which is a platform that allows for better governance, redaction, and prompt injection controls. While we get into that, we can just start off on the next slide, Salish. Cool. So the primary question that we see today, and just maybe a show of hands really quickly, to make sure that most of us have used Claude this week, right? But do we really know where the data is going into it, right? All the way from the very start, where we prompt within Claude, all the way to the servers and what is happening in the Anthropic servers, right? And most of it is invisible to you, right? And that's not unique to the rooms. Most of the people I asked don't really know where the prompting is going to, right? So the difference, and we're going to notice that, is between Claude Free and Claude Enterprise isn't just the model control or the response speed. It's what happens to your data after you hit enter, right? So on Free, you may be giving your data away to train future models, right? Any Opus iterations we see from today, 4.8, 4.9, we're basically training that. On enterprise, however, they're contractually protected, right? Same interface, same AI, just radically different data implications. So hopefully by the end of today, we get all these questions answered properly. Could you go to the next slide, Salish? Cool. So what is the end-to-end data flow that we're seeing right now, right? And we'll trace this step by step really quickly to explain what happens when you type a prompt into Claude without any of these protections that we're going to walk you through, right? So step one, maybe let's say the employee types something, right? At the moment, the risk is entirely determined by what they type inside, right? They can type, help me write a meeting agenda. The risk is essentially zero. If they type a patient record with a name, a date of birth, a medical record number, right? They just committed every piece of that data in that prompt to the rest of the pipeline, right? So the employee sets the ceiling of risk at the keyboard. Now, the step two, what happens is that the prompt travels, of course, over the internet to the infrastructure, the Anthropic's cloud infrastructure. It is encrypted in transcript, yes, but it arrives intact, right? Exactly as typed, every word, every name, every number. It's now on the Anthropic servers. And step three is where the plan type, right, matters enormously, right? Their Claude has different plan types like free, teams, enterprise, right? This on Claude free, the data may be reviewed by Anthropic employees for model training and safety purposes, right? On enterprise, it is contractually excluded from training, right? But in both cases, the raw data is visible to the model during processing, right? Steps 4 and 5 are basically the long tail. At this point, the conversation is actually within your history, which means that sensitive information that you probably typed 3 months ago is probably still sitting there, searchable and indexed, right? So when you copy Claude's response into an email, a document, or a Slack message, you basically propagated whatever sensitive context was in the original prompt downstream further into Claude's infrastructure. So the key insight is that the Claude isn't dangerous. It's just how the data flow is longer and more persistent than people actually realize, right? The prompt doesn't just vanish after you get the answer. Next
Yeah, and I
slide,
think,
Salish.
in this example here, right, we end up with sensitive data being exposed. Now, I'm sure everybody on the call is familiar with cybersecurity awareness training, where you receive a lesson from your IT provider, Tech River, right, to show you what to watch out for when an outside threat is coming at your organization, right, trying to get your data. So this example shows it's a different problem than what those awareness trainings are designed. And really today's session is about helping us develop the habits and tools to minimize the risk from this perspective.
Yep. Cool. So let me explain this with a basic story, right? Maybe an employee has both Claude Pro and account that they pay for themselves. and a company's Claude enterprise account, right? They're at home on a Saturday catching up with work. They open the browser, the Chrome would autofill their personal Claude. They don't notice, right? But the interface looks identical. They paste client data, they get their work done, and they go about their weekend. But the client data is now on the person's account, like personal account, conversation history, right? Which is subject to the personal tier policies. As you can see, there are different tiers here, right? With Claude Free, yes, most of the information is going to be used for training Claude and making sure it gives better responses over time. For Claude Pro, you can decide to opt out, which we're going to show you in a demo coming up. And in Claude Team and Claude Enterprise, you can practically say, okay, well, you cannot give most of the information out, but that information is not used for training because it's working within an interface that is presented to Claude. Hopefully that makes sense. Can you go to the next slide, Slush? Cool. So really, we get started with the demo here, right? And we can do this in real time, but Claude basically allows you to do a setting fix that says, okay, do not use my data for training, right? The step one is the most important. When you go to your profile icon, you can look at it. If you see the company name, that's fine. If you look at your personal Gmail or your own account with Pro or Free underneath it, you're on a personal account, right? This is the first check we do. The second step is when you go to settings and privacy and you toggle off model training. So look at the options that they're using for the conversations to improve. So on free accounts, this is on by default. That means your prompt is being reviewed by humans at Anthropic, right? You can toggle it off, one click and it's done. Even if you're on enterprise where it doesn't apply, you should usually do a good check. And then the other good practice I ask people to do is to review through their conversation history on the sidebar, right? When you look at it, some conversations in there, if you have client name typed in there maybe 3 months ago, it's still there. If you pasted a spreadsheet with employee data, it's still there, right? Delete anything sensitive and going forward, please make sure you're not sharing any privatized or PHI information into Claude, right? The step 5, really simple, is just we have a lot of apps connected to Claude. Me personally, I have Excel, a bunch of Slack information, Notion, right? We want to make sure that we're deactivating some of them because most of them should be used within a project with guardrails. And we'll show you how to do it going forward. Can you go to the next slide, Slush? Right. So this is just a quick example, a video demonstration of what you can do within Claude. I'm currently using the Pro tier. As you can see in settings, and then you go to privacy, and you can see that these two are now turned on. They look at your location metadata, and you also given your chats end-to-end to push the information to Claude's servers for further training. That's okay, Slush. This is the next demo. You got to go back.
Sorry, my bad. I clicked it too fast.
No worries. Great. So this is, as you can see, settings, privacy, and then those two information, you might want to toggle them off because you don't want to give away your sensitive information to Claude's servers. Cool. Can you go to the next slide, Slush? Great. Now, I want to show you something that's called a data leak, right? I want to be clear. This is just fictional data and everything, right? So we have a care coordinator that drafts maybe a referral letter, right? They're swamped. They have like 15 patients to process today, and Claude is just sitting right there. So they open up their personal Claude because it's faster to navigate to their company account. They paste the prompt, well, you see on the screen right there, right? It says, look, so, and you can see what's in the prompt, right? You can see there's a real patient name, a date of birth, a medical record number, right? A specific diagnostics with medication dosages and lab values, all of it is there in there. So every single one of those is currently protected under health information under HIPAA, and every single one of them is now within the Anthropic systems. So Claude basically would do an excellent job. It would generate a perfect referral within 30 seconds. The care coordinator saved 20 minutes. They're going to do this again tomorrow, the next time. And every single time you do that, PHI information leaves the healthcare system and goes within Claude's infrastructure. So the table, as you can see over there, maps exactly what's leaked and where it lives, right? So the patient name is in conversation history and the Anthropic logs, right? The date of birth is again stored along with the patient name, making it like a linked identifier. So the MRN is again a direct key to patient's entire medical records. So the clinical details, are treatments that are outside your healthcare's control, right? So we want to make sure that we have certain guardrails to make sure this doesn't happen. And the part that keeps most compliance people up at night is that Claude didn't basically do anything wrong here. It technically responded, it responded helpfully and accurate, right? But the model doesn't know what your compliance obligations are. The fact that you walk around, or you follow HIPAA and so on and so forth. It doesn't know that it shouldn't process PHI on a free account, right? The responsibility comes down on the employee. Can we go to the next slide, Slush? So this demo shows that Claude will take in the prompt and respond in a very clear way, right? And the output looks totally professional. Could you skim a little ahead, Salish? To the output. Takes a while. Right. So can you pause there for a second? Yep. Thank you. So you can see that Claude doesn't warn you. It doesn't say, hey, you pasted protected health information. It doesn't flag the patient name or remove any identifier. It just helps, right? That's because it's what designed to do. This is the important part, right? The absence of a warning that is not here is basically the same as like the presence of safety. It tells you that, oh, everything's safe, but Claude didn't stop you. That doesn't mean what you did was safe, right? So the tool is designed to be helpful, not compliant. Compliance becomes your responsibility. And eventually, what we are trying to do is add a governance layer within Claude with the help of project and guardrails that we're going to see.
Yeah, I think just to reiterate there, right? The scenario is not that the coordinator or this coordinator is trying to use a tool to do her job faster, right? So the intent isn't the problem. To the point, Claude just won't refuse the prompt that they put in to as he shared there. So it doesn't know your obligations, right? So I think this next demo is going to show you how we can address that.
Right. Can we go to the next slide, Salish? No, we did this. The next slide. Yep, thank you. So really, when we were talking, we have discussed about projects, we have discussed about what a general prompt template looks like, and I think this is probably the single most powerful free protection available within Claude today. The Claude project, right? It's just a workspace where you set custom instructions that you can apply to every conversation within it, right? Think of it as your personal compliance officer that sits within Claude. So when we try and select a project and create a new project, we can name it clinical referrals. We have certain custom instructions, right, that you see on the screen. And those custom instructions basically do the magic. So before Claude responds to anything you type, it scans your prompt for identifiable data, maybe names, date of birth, medical record names, social security number, or any combination that could identify a person. It finds any, it stops, it doesn't generate any response. Instead, it tells you what it found, and it asks you to replace them with placeholders, as the prompt mentions over there on the screen, right? And this is the fundamental shift, right? Instead of instead of relying on the employee to remember any amount of anonymized data, remember to anonymize the data every single time, which is like a human reliability problem. We are practically training or programming Claude to catch it for you, right? So you set it once within a project, and this will be for every conversation you do within it. So that's the difference between understanding specific guardrails. And the tip at the bottom, as you see on your screen, is also pretty important, right? The same pattern could work for any function. This is just specific to healthcare. But if you're in finance, you replace patient data with maybe client names and account numbers. If you're in engineering, you do it credentials and API keys or AWS secret keys, whatever. If you're in HR, you replace you have employee names and salary data. The template is universal. You would probably be swapping out the data types. Can we go to the next slide so we can see the demo? Thank you. So standard procedure, you go into this and you understand how to create a project. Let's say you create one, you write the project name, create project, and right after you go and scroll down into instructions. You click on it, you add the exact prompt that is mentioned on the slides. You need to fine tune this prompt depending on what you are trying to accomplish with this Claude project. You save instructions, right? So can you pause there, Salish, a little bit back and pause? Yep, right there. Thank you. So, no, a little bit back. It starts with the identifiable part. Yep, right there. Thank you. So as you can see, the prompt is following the same template we discussed previously. You can see that you are a certain person, assistant under the data protection rules. Before responding to the prompt, that is called adding a guardrail. You say, scan the user's prompt for any identifiable patient name, including patient data, including names, DOBs, MRN, SSNs, address, phone number, anything that makes a person identifiable, or even a combination of detail. If there is a specific amount of data that is identified, do not proceed. Instead, reply with this, please replace the real identifiers with placeholders and then resubmit. So you're instructing Claude that anytime you see through this, follow these custom instructions as is written here and only then respond through. So Kailash, can you go ahead? Great. Scroll down. Yep. And then save instructions. And you can paste the exact point. I'm not sure if we do that here. Go a little ahead. Yep. So help me draft a certain thing. This is exactly what we typed in the data leak problem, where we have sensitive PII information or PHI information given here. And when you do that, so it says, okay, well, now I've identified certain things in the prompt that you've shared with us.
Sorry, here you go.
No worries. So yeah, as you can see, there are certain names and information that I'm sharing that should be caught and identifiable based on the custom project instructions that we're setting to it. And it says, okay, here are the identifiable things in your prompt. Please replace them with placeholders and then resubmit the prompt so which I can share. Okay. Can we continue to the next slide, please?
We did have a question there before we jump ahead that, doesn't the prompt we provide also get sent to the server to identify the information and add a placeholder? It still goes through the servers, right?
Ideally, the prompt does go to the server. There's no denying that the prompt doesn't go to the server, but the prompt prevents you, if you have a pro plan or a Teams plan, which is what we encourage different clients to have, that prevents it from sending it to the customer. And as you can see, you have toggled it off, so this prompt would not be sent to the Anthropic layers.
So basically, by having the definition in place, we're able to prevent what would typically be sent to the element itself.
Yep. Okay, can we proceed? Yeah, thank you. So there is either a safety prompt template, right? And we look at this side by side beforehand and afterhand. So in the demo too, we saw that we're sending privatized information for Sarah Johnson, date of birth, MRN, whatever dosage, right? But in this slide, we noticed that we're sending a patient name, but we're using placeholders. So instead of that, we're saying, okay, now that if you're using a chat, right? And sometimes the key principle here is to send minimum necessary data. Claude doesn't need to know the patient's name to write a referral. It doesn't need to know their exact date of birth and age, their gender, whatever. It's sufficient for clinical context, right? It doesn't need the MRN for everything. So with this, the principle is to give Claude what it needs, not what you have, right? And you apply this to every function. Like in finance, you don't need to paste the exact dollar. The ranges work. Like in legal, you don't need to type the real party names. Instead, placeholders work, right? So on and so forth. And that's what we encourage people to do with the safe prompt template that you have on the screen right here. So you're preventing any detail to go out in the first place. And this is the enhanced format, right? You don't even want to take the risk of sending this to their servers or toggling it on and off. You want to make sure that you're applying the prompt and you're applying placeholders even within the prompts you're typing. Go to the next slide, Salish. Okay, and you're going to see a demo really quickly. So as you can see in the demo, it's very clearly written. I need you to draft a certain referral. So can you pause at the start, please, for a second so we can look at the prompt?
Go back.
Yeah, at the very start. Thank you. So right, as you can see, I need a draft to do an endocrinology report. Here's the clinical context you need to know. Here's the patient name. I will replace it with a placeholder. Here's the age, date of birth, whatever, diagnostics, right? And you draft a referral note to this as a placeholder, include certain things. So we're still following the original template that we had on day one, but we're including placeholders instead of giving actual names out. Yeah, you can continue, Slush. Yeah. Yep. And you can go on, so on and so forth. And then you see the answer in the doc, as you can see. I'm not sure if you can see, but the patient name is conveniently left out. The date of birth is left out. The MRN is left out, and the rest of the information stays the same. So as you can see, we're using placeholders in place that make sure that you're not giving any sensitive information to Claude, even to the servers in the first place. Go to the next slide, Salesh.
Right. This is the one we were on, right? Demo 3. So.
Yep. Now, there are certain techniques, which you can use within Claude, pretty standard. But this one makes you better. You add one free layer of protection, and they can stack on top of each other, right? The first one we want to talk about is two-step prompting. It works really well. So instead of you deciding what to share, you ask Claude what it needs, right? Claude will tell you, I may need the name, I may need the age, sex, diagnostics, medication, and reason for referral, right? You do not need to include the name, date of birth, MRN, or address. Now, you have an AI-generated specification of what's safe to share, and you're not guessing anymore at this point. And this primarily works because Claude generally doesn't need identifying information for most tasks, right? When you ask it what it needs, you'll often be surprised by how little it is, right? A developer such as myself, I would ask Claude to debug the code. I don't paste the entire code base. I just go for a relevant function and then say, hey, this is what I need you to debug, right? A lawyer can say, could ask Claude to analyze any contract language that doesn't need the real party names, right? So two-step prompting is something we can ask Claude. So you define your task, you say what are the information you need, it tells you what information you need, and you find it to be substantially less than what information you're willing to provide. Can we go to the next? Or actually, you can stay here, right? Technique 2 is basically extended thinking, right? Claude can turn into an auditor of your own prompt by asking Claude to first, list any identifiable data it finds, then flagging it as to what it should have been. Once it does that, it will anonymize it and only generate the response. So you get a built-in review step. It's like having a compliance officer read your prompt before it gets processed in the first place. And the way you can do it is before you do, as you can read the prompt, before you write your response, think step by step, list out any identifiable data in the prompt, flag anything that looks off, and then only proceed. The third template is what we push most people to go for, which is uploading a blank template of your project, right, to your project. It's probably the most standard way, right? If your team has a standard referral template, a standard contract summary format, or a standard code review checklist, right? You upload the blank template to your project, then ask Claude to use it. You never paste the data, but the structure is already there. So Claude fills in the template with whatever clinical or business context you provide, all using placeholders. And when you combine all the three, which is the project guardrails, the two-step prompting, and the extended thinking, you get independent layers of protection, all for free. So that's what we promote people to do. Could you go to the next slide, Slush? Right, and we can demo this really quickly. So we're within the same project that we have just created, and you type, I need to go through the two-step process before I share any information. What are the things you need? It will tell you exactly what it needs. Right, as you can see, to give me the substantial information, age range, don't give me the exact information. So it'll ask you for a bunch of information that it needs to share, right? What to replace in the placeholder entirely. This is what you need to do. Right, so that's the two-step prompting where you say, okay, this is what I need to give. and it's not everything. And then following up with that, you can see the extended thinking method where it says, before I write, here's the information. First, list any identifiable things, audit my things that I share with you. Here's the patient information. Check if there's anything wrong. If there's nothing wrong, please proceed as planned. As you can see, Claude will do it. You can probably move a little ahead, Salesh, because this takes extended thinking. Yep, right there. So as you can see, Claude will give you the answer. And then the third one is going within the same prompt template or your project that you have and uploading a blank template to your project. Could you move a little ahead, Salesh? Right. So this is just an example prompt. It's not like the finalized version of a prompt. I just came up with it. I identify, or I think that this would be a good way to refer or understand what is within it. So as you can see, we're using the template below. These are things, as you can see, there are placeholders on this template that you need to fill in with. And Claude will use this template to generate the response. Yep, move a little ahead. As you can see, use the referral template, generate these information as provided to you, generate the template for me. It does that. Cool. So those are 3 standard practices that we encourage people to do. Could you go to the next slide, Salesh? Yep. So this is just a take home for anyone who's trying to look through it, right? And you can see that there are certain copy-paste system instructions that you can do by different roles that are available, right? So for healthcare, the instructions set to catch obvious identifiers such as the name, DOB, MRNs, but also any combination of the details that could identify the person, right? The last phase is crucial because, sometimes it's not just one data point, but an intersection of different things that makes someone identifiable, right? For finance, you notice that it usually says a range, right? And percentages rather than the exact figures. This is because Claude's analytical value comes from understanding the magnitude of the relationships, not the exact number itself, right? So you can do pattern analysis, trend identification with ranges. The exact values go into your system, financial systems, not in Claude. For engineering, sometimes it is credential detection pattern based, right? So we have secret keys, secret password, AWS token, connection strings, etc. These patterns basically cause like real breaches. And I think around in the 2023, we had multiple companies' credentials got exposed because the developers who used AI did not have custom instructions to make sure that they cannot be exposed. And this is ideally your checklist that you have to make sure when you're using all the prompting techniques we taught about. You have to think about your account, which should be the right account. You should think about using projects with guardrails. You should look at names and identifiers that you should not give within Claude. Make sure as a developer, you're not giving any API credentials or keys or secret codes. And make sure that you're always asking prompt for 2-step prompting where you're saying, hey, this is the minimum required information, and you're not sharing the entire contract with Claude. Yep. All right. So what we covered is basically tier 1, things that you can do yourself. Tier 2 is when we apply or make use of Dimium, which Salesh will explain it to right now.
Thank you, Sandeep. Hopefully, everyone, you saw in the absence of another capability or a tool which augments something like Claude, there's just a lot of ownership on the organization and the individual employees to make sure that they are taking care of either their customers, clients, their own IP, financial, whatever data which is sensitive for the organization. But imagine what if there is a tool? Everything just Sandeep showed you. What if the tool could do it? You don't have to worry about it. So you could actually focus on the work, focus on the clients, focus on your business. So that is what we're going to talk about, right? It's this tier 2 where what if there is a tool which actually does all of this governance, all of this protection for you, and that's what the next module is going to be about. And we are going to talk about a platform called Dimium. This is a company which was born in the AI era last couple of years, and they have built an amazing platform, what they call it a zero trust security platform, where it plugs into any AI tool or what we call it large learning models such as Claude. You can connect Gemini to it. You can connect OpenAI to it. You can choose any large learning model or a tool, and it actually integrates with it. So here is kind of how it functions, and the entire capability they have built underneath this tool, they call it the Ghost AI architecture. What it does is really introspects, right? If you look at the stages, this platform actually looks at the platform, the prompt Sandeep just showed you. It actually takes that prompt through these 5 different stages. It looks at the prompt and passes through an intelligent engine they have built before even it reaches to a Claude or any other AI tool. It detects um, and scans for any sensitive data which you as an organization can set it up that, hey, we are a healthcare organization versus we are a legal lawyer or legal company. You can choose what sensitive data you want to detect and scan across 34 languages. And it catches what employees don't know what they typed, right? Then what it does something amazing, which is it takes every single sensitive information and creates almost like a token for it. So it basically masks it. And that token is sent to either Claude or any other tool, AI tool. It processes it regularly the way you would do it, and when it comes back, it replaces those tokens on your screen with the real data. So at no point you are in full control. Your organization is in full control of what data you're using, what data you are actually sending. And as an employee, you don't need to worry about all of this. You can just focus on the work and let the tool actually manage it. And phenomenal platform, a very unique platform they have built. And we'll just show you a quick demo of it. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
and I think just to call it there,
please.
that stage 3, right, is the critical thing, right? So Claude processes a masked prompt, not the real data, right? The model never sees patient data, credentials, contract terms. Ultimately, the employee is going to get the same quality output. And that's the design goal, right? Full protection with zero workflow change. So it's not going to impact your staff as they're working with it.
Absolutely. I'm going to skip this, and we're going to take the same example what Sandeep actually took of Sarah Johnson, and the original prompt had her date of birth and MRN plus a bunch of other information about her visit to the doctor. And now we want to summarize that. So let me take you through kind of a quick, maybe 5-minute or kind of a tour of this platform. So they are a platform you as an organization will have to subscribe to. Once assume that you are subscribed to it, you can sign up. If you are a Microsoft company, you have Microsoft Azure or Microsoft Office 365, you can sign in for your organization. You can give it to your employees through that. But here is kind of what happens once you sign in. Here we go. Right. So let me just let me give you a tour. Once you sign in, let me give you a tour of what really happens. So you can see as soon as you get in, it shows you what it can do, right? You can start a new chat. In fact, you can compare different models. You can choose the model you want to prefer, model you prefer. So you can see it just picked basically the Gemma model, right? But if you're using Claude, you can bring your Claude subscription into this platform. If you have Gemini subscription, you can actually bring that into the model. So it gives you a lot of flexibility. You as an organization, you are not tethered or tied to a particular platform now. And that is what the beauty of this platform. So let's just quickly go through it. Just like any other platform, you type your message. The other interesting thing is it does couple other things. It gives you features to enhance your prompt. So let's say like you all went through the first two webinars, and in the first two webinars, we really focused on how do you build a great prompt, right, to basically do your job or perform your operational activities. It does a lot of these things for you. It'll improve your prompt. Something pretty cool this tool does. And the other interesting we'll show you is you can actually compare multiple models and output. And as I say, as you can see, you can pick, you can actually pick your own kind of who you are as a person. You can pick the models. So you're not tied to a particular model, which is really super cool capability this platform does. So today, if organization subscribes to a tool, they give one tool to employees versus certain employees might need some specialized tools. So here we go. Let us show you basically, I'm going to go forward and show you what they call it their setup wizard. Okay, so let me just show you. You can manage this as an organizational level. You can have users. You can manage it at the user level. Who can see what? So you as an organization, when you subscribe to this tool, you have a complete control up to the user level. Okay, so let me show you something. So here is kind of the beauty of this, right? So when you look at what data you want to prevent, whether it's PII categories, or it is look at the compliance coverage, HIPAA, you can actually have EU-IAI Act. So what they have done as an organization, they have gone and figured out the critical global compliance requirements and what data fields are absolutely needed. Let's look at what's going on in the high-tech world, right? So they have figured it out on behalf of the organization. And all you need to do is, hey, I am an organization, I comply with these three, I have to comply with these three regulations or compliances. I come here as an organization, you can set it up. And now when you give it to your employees, none of that data is leaving the boundary of your organization. And we'll show you how it's actually done. So really, I mean, they have thought through this really well. Can you imagine how hard this would be if you are an organization and which is global, you are in healthcare, and you got to comply with not only local, and by the way, you are in California, right? So there are state regulations, there are compliances, there are national and international regulations you got to comply with. That is a nightmare to manage. And they have done a really nice job figuring this thing out. So let me go through this real quickly. And let me show you what it actually is. So here we saw the compliance coverage already. But the other interesting thing is when you look at the compliance coverage, what you could see here is the actual information. You could see what it actually covers, right? And what information it will introspect into the prompt. So something really super cool. The other thing is, as I said, you can come into the initial configuration. You can pick what industry you are in, and based off that, it will automatically pick certain compliance requirements and automatically apply it. So you don't even need to worry about it. All you need to do is go and check if it actually configured it really well or not. So you have granular control, but if you want to have one-click control, you can actually do that too in this platform. Okay, so let me just quickly go through this. So here is kind of I showed you this, right? These are the other compliances. When you select all of these compliance requirements, you go deeper into it. And now you can see based off of everything you pick, what all information it's going to introspect your prompt. And based off of that, it will I shouldn't say mask, it will tokenize these pieces of information. So let's just look at a particular example of how it will do it. Okay, so we went through the setup. Let's look at the example. So let me paste the prompt where, here we go, right? So I'm going to take a pause here. Oops, let me go back here. So here's the prompt, right? So what I'm doing is for Sarah, I took all Sarah's information. Her visit was done. There was a bunch of information in terms of what her diabetes level was, right? Dietary factors, all of that, signed by Michael Torres, right? Who is the MD. And now we want to actually summarize the entire visit for Sarah. That's kind of what this prompt is. And as soon as we put the prompt in to summarize it, you can see what it's gonna. Here we go. It basically said, as soon as I pasted the prompt, it said PII detected and protected. So Ghost AI detected 15 sensitive items in this message. Each one was replaced with a non-reversible token. In a simple word, what it did is basically tokenized all that information. So when it sends it to the LLMs, it is not sending the data, it is sending the token. So let me show you what it does, okay? So it just tells you what it did. Here is what the AI is going to see. Instead of John Smith, it is actually going to see, it recognized these 64 plus entities. Let's just go next. It gives you, and here we go, right? So I'm going to take a pause here. So here we go. So now that the prompt is ready, before even you hit go, it basically said I detected 15 sensitive items, five people names, 2 date of birth, there were 2 medical records. You could see what it does behind the scene, right? Something very sophisticated. And the founding team of this company, they grew up in the device security space, so they know what data security and compliance requirements are. They were working for some global companies. That's the knowledge they brought it to this platform. So here we go, right? So it did all of that. Now let's see what it does. Boom. Now that it is sending the prompt, you could see what it did. It basically took each one of those, converted into a token, and now you have, it's thinking. Here we go. Now it's actually creating. So it's doing what a Claude would do behind the scene. Imagine that there is a front end to it, which is protecting all this information, so you don't have to worry about it. So right now we just showed Anthropic as a tool. You can see where my cursor is, but you can change this to anything you like as an organization. And this goes back to what I said. Now you as a company, you have a flexibility to what AI tools you can choose, and you are not tethered to only one. Let's quickly go through it. You can see what it did. So let me show you another feature of this. Hopefully that gave you a perspective of what this tool is capable of. Now here's another feature, which is my favorite feature, not really related to the data security or the governance, but really, how do you know that the information you are getting for the model is the right information? Because we all know models do hallucinate, and some models are better than the other one, which is why we use Claude, because we believe that is better than any other tool we have seen in the market. So let us show you that they have this cool feature where you can actually compare 3 models, and you can give one prompt and have each of these model process that prompt. You get to see what the output of each of the model is, and then you get to decide which one is better. So I'm going to quickly scroll this so you can see now it has 3 outputs it has created, because that one prompt was sent to 3 different models at the same time. Now you can see what it did. It basically brought 3 different answers, right? Because obviously each model was built by a different company. They have a different way to process it. They have a different knowledge they are using in terms of coming up with this outcome. And now we are like, which is right? So what you could do is you can either combine the answer, or let me just quickly go back for a second, right? You can combine the answer, or you can use something called synthesized consensus. So this platform will let basically the data from these 3 models come together, synthesize it, and it'll give you basically one concise answer, which is a combination of all of these 3. Okay, so it's gonna almost like it's gonna deliberate to come up with the best answer. So really cool feature. This is a feature I love, actually, to tell you the truth. But again, you could see, right, what it did from a combination perspective. Let me see what else is there. Now this is another amazing feature that as an organization, if you're giving this tool to, let's say, 100 employees, how do you know at the organizational level what data are we protecting? How many sessions were there? How many messages went through to what model? So you get a complete visibility. You get a complete visibility of what's happening across the organization. You can see how many models were used for what purposes across the enterprise by the employees. You can even, some organizations have to quantify the data security risks, and it gives you really a good kind of a distribution model of where where are my employees using what type of data, and can I quantify basically the value behind it by not sending this data outside of the organization. So they give you this executive dashboard to tell you here is what you basically saved in terms of data leaks. And then you can download all of that form. So because some companies have this requirement where you have to prove whether your data left your organizational boundaries or not. So you can see it gives you that capability, not only protecting it, but also giving you basically that stamp of approval that we protected this information from leaking and we are compliant. So hopefully that gave you a perspective of two different aspects of how you protect sensitive data from leaking into AI models. One, what Sandeep shared. One is this, which is automated for you. You don't need to worry about it. So, hopefully that gives you a perspective. Again, I know we have 3 minutes left. I'm going to quickly go through it. You all know what this is. Your risk map across 6 categories. Sandeep already talked most about it, so I won't go through it again. What Demium does across all of those categories, what it protects, everything from data privacy to IP protection. You saw the number of compliance regulations they comply with, right? This is again AI rule card, just so you all know, when you are using a certain type of data, general business correspondence versus financial forecast versus APIs versus regulatory, make sure that you're always using Cloud Enterprise and not using the Cloud Free or Pro, because some of that data may not be protected. And you may not have control over it from spilling into the model. Rule card, I think we talked about most of this. I think Sandeep talked about it. So here are the 3 questions. So let's, just like how we do at the end of every webinar, 3 quick questions. We'd love for you to actually answer this. So question number 1, when an employee pastes a patient referral letter into their personal cloud account, the most likely risk is what? A, B, or C? Cloud will summarize incorrectly. Patient data is stored in Anthropic systems. Summary will be too short. Employee's computer will get a virus. I can't see the responses. Okay, so
We haven't had any yet, but I'm sure they're answering in their head.
perfect.
B.
As you can see, right? There you go. Answer is B.
B.
Spot on.
Yeah.
Next question. What does Demium's Ghost AI do between employee's prompt and Claude? Blocks the prompt, intercepts the prompt, marks sensitive data to synthetic substitutes, sends warning email, or adds a watermark. What do you all think? Spot on.
B again, yeah.
B is the answer. And the last one, an employee wants to use Claude to analyze a budget. The safe approach is copy the spreadsheet, use Claude Enterprise with Demium governance active, manually retype the key numbers, or email the spreadsheet to an external consultant. What do you all think?
think we got a theme taking place here.
Yeah, I know, exactly. We should have done something, we should have shuffled it. The answer's a little bit spot on. There you go. Anyway, common questions about data security. I think we answered most of those. Everyone, that comes to the end of our third webinar, which was really focused on how do you protect your enterprise, right, from spilling this data, which is your most important asset. So anyway, you saw the data rule card, you saw the prompting habits Sandeep showed. We showed you the 6 categories. We showed you the Demium, the zero trust platform, how it helps your life and your organization's life easy, but at the same time protect your most sensitive assets. So thank you for taking the time. We have our next upcoming session, which is session 4, will be focused on AI agents and automation. So what all things you need to think about, how do you build an agent which does a lot of these thinking for you, automations for you. There's a lot of buzzword around it. So we're actually going to make it simple, easy for everybody to show how to build agents and how to build automations using everything we learned between the last 3 sessions. So thank you for taking the time. Jason, I'm going to give it back to you.
Yeah, thanks again for everything today, Shalice and Sandeep. Everyone that attended the session today, you'll receive a follow-up email today. You'll have a link so you can download the presentation and get some of those scorecards and things off the deck. Otherwise, we appreciate everybody joining us, and we look forward to wrapping up the webinar series next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks everyone. Take care.
Thank you, guys.